So since this will be our house eventually, wouldn't it be best if you moved out soon? Victoria insisted. You seem to be mistaken. Neither this house nor the apartments will belong to Adrian, I responded calmly. Victoria's face froze in shock at my words. My name is Aubrey, a 35-year-old office worker. I still live in my family home with my parents. Today, I'm going to share the absurd experience I had with my unreasonable sister-in-law. I have a younger brother, Adrian, who is 3 years my junior. A few years ago, he married a beautiful woman named Victoria. She was always bright and friendly, treating both my parents and me with kindness whenever she visited. I genuinely liked her, and we even went out to eat together as a group. I believed we were getting along well, until one day Victoria suddenly burst into our home, furious. It happened on a sunny weekend afternoon. The doorbell rang impatiently, and as I walked over to answer it, it rang again. Curious about who was in such a rush, I opened the door to find Victoria standing there with a stormy expression. Victoria? Is something wrong? I asked, concerned. I need to discuss something important about this house, she said seriously. This house? What do you mean? I asked, confused. I'm coming in, she declared. Wait a second, I started, but she pushed past me and stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Adrian arrived shortly after, looking uncomfortable. Hey sis, he greeted hesitantly. What's going on? And why does Victoria seem so upset? I asked, bewildered. Adrian hesitated before explaining. He works in the nursing field, but his salary isn't very high. Victoria, however, never complained and supported their household by working part-time. Recently, though, she'd started bringing up the topic of inheritance, specifically our family home. Our family owns a large piece of land where we built and rent out apartments. Victoria assumed that since Adrian is the eldest son, he would eventually inherit both the house and the apartments. Based on that assumption, she had suddenly decided they should move into the house right away. When Adrian questioned her reasoning, she explained that it would be more financially responsible to live in the family home instead of continuing to pay rent for their small apartment. He tried to reason with her, saying, "We don't even have kids yet, so there's no rush. Plus, my sister lives there too." But Victoria was adamant. "Then I'll just talk to your sister myself," she declared, and so here she was demanding that I move out of my own home. I understand that married couples start thinking about their future, saving money, preparing for children. But her sudden determination to take over our house felt completely unreasonable. For now, let's sit down and talk this through, I suggested. Adrian has always been indecisive, especially in difficult situations. He's not exactly assertive, which is why I initially thought he and Victoria were a great match. She had always seemed mild-mannered and kind. But now it was clear that she had him wrapped around her finger. When Victoria marched into the living room, fuming, my parents and I were caught off guard. We exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what had triggered this outburst. I took a deep breath, served some tea, and invited everyone to sit down. All right, let's start from the beginning. What's so urgent about our home? I asked. In short, we've decided to move in, Victoria announced. You mean you want to live with us? I clarified. She shook her head. No, that would be awkward for everyone, wouldn't it? But your family owns the apartment building next door, right? Yes. I answered, still confused. So, you and your parents should move into one of those apartments instead. That way, Adrian and I can live here, she stated firmly. Excuse me? My parents and I stared at her in disbelief. I turned to Adrian, hoping he'd at least try to defend us. But he only managed an awkward smile. If you move into one of your own apartments, you wouldn't have to pay rent, right? It just makes sense. Victoria continued as if her idea was the most logical thing in the world. Technically, yes, we wouldn't be paying rent, but why should we move at all? I asked, baffled. This house is far too big for just your parents, don't you think? Keeping up with the cleaning and maintenance must be exhausting, not to mention the stairs are steep. What if one of them fell and got seriously injured? Adrian, you agree, don't you? Victoria turned to my brother, waiting for him to back her up. Well, yeah, he mumbled, avoiding my gaze. I was stunned. So their plan was to kick us out under the pretense of helping my parents, just so they could take over the house? My parents sat there in silent shock. Well, there aren't any available units in our apartment complex right now, so moving isn't even an option, I pointed out. Oh, then which lease is ending first? You could just not renew it and move in once it's vacant, she suggested casually. I was floored by her audacity. Victoria, why should we be the ones to move into an apartment? My parents have already said they plan to live out their retirement here. They're comfortable and we don't feel like the house is too big at all. We can discuss alternative arrangements when they actually need assistance, but right now, everything is fine, I explained as calmly as I could. Victoria let out a long, dramatic sigh. I didn't want to put it this way, but it's only natural, isn't it? Adrian is the eldest son. That means this house and the apartments will belong to him eventually. If we have kids, we'll need more space. Isn't it better to move in now and get used to the home before then? Wait, you're pregnant? My mom asked, startled. No, not yet, but we might have kids in the future, Victoria admitted. So she was demanding we give up our home based on the possibility that they might have children one day? Since we're going to inherit this place anyway, wouldn't it be best if you moved out sooner rather than later? Victoria pressed. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. I turned to my brother. Did you even talk about this beforehand? I asked. Adrian could only offer a sheepish shrug and a weak smile, so it was clear. Victoria was the one pushing this idea all along. I think there's a misunderstanding, I stated firmly. This house and the apartments don't belong to Adrian. Victoria's expression twisted in shock. What? What are you talking about? I took a deep breath and explained. The house and all the rental properties are under my name. Adrian won't be inheriting them. No way, she murmured, completely taken aback. My sister-in-law was at a loss for words. But that doesn't make sense. Isn't it tradition for the eldest son to inherit everything? She protested, clearly grasping at straws. At that moment my father spoke up. Your mother and I built both this house and the apartments. But when we ran into financial difficulties, it was Aubrey, who was financially stable at the time, who stepped in and took over our liabilities. I added to his explanation. Not too long ago, we finally finished paying off the debt from the apartment business. Only recently did we start making a small profit. In reality, we were operating at a loss for years. But Victoria wasn't paying attention to the financial details. She was still stuck on the fact that they weren't getting any part of the property. I won't accept this, she suddenly shouted. If that's the case, then we should at least get a share of the income from the apartments. Her entitlement was astounding. I wasn't going to entertain such nonsense. Absolutely not, I said coldly. But Victoria wasn't giving up. Fine, next time I'll bring my parents, she declared before grabbing Adrian and storming out of our house. I sighed in frustration. This entire mess could have been avoided if Adrian had just spoken up and put his foot down. Sure enough, a week later, Victoria showed up again, this time with her parents in tow. We gathered in the living room, and once again we explained the situation in detail. Victoria's parents listened quietly, nodding occasionally. When we finished, her father finally spoke. This is unusual, he said thoughtfully, but from a legal standpoint, once your parents pass, Adrian would be entitled to a portion of the estate under inheritance laws, correct? He'd had clearly done his research. And yet, you intend to keep everything for yourself. That doesn't seem fair, he added with a smug chuckle. Victoria shot me a triumphant smirk, as if she thought they had me cornered. I wasn't fazed. Ah, you might be right about inheritance laws, but you seem to be forgetting something. These apartments were originally drowning in debt. I have proof that I paid off that debt. Adrian, on the other hand, has contributed nothing, not a single cent. I pulled out my phone, opened the calculator app, and keyed in the total debt I had absorbed. Then I turned the screen toward them. The moment Victoria and her parents saw the number, their faces went pale. That's impossible, Victoria stammered. That much debt, but that would just add to our financial burden. I narrowed my eyes. Debt? What do you mean by our debt? I asked sharply. Nothing, Victoria mumbled, avoiding eye contact. Adrian, I said, turning to my brother. What's going on? Adrian looked just as confused. I don't know anything about this, he admitted. I turned back to Victoria. Tell me the truth. Why are you so desperate to move into this house? Her father sighed heavily, finally giving in. I suppose we can't hide it anymore. Victoria recently lost a lot of money in the stock market, he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. What? I exclaimed. Adrian looked equally stunned. Victoria, is that true? She crossed her arms defensively. I was told it was a great investment opportunity by someone at work. Adrian's face twisted in disbelief. Are you serious? That sounds like a scam. Shut up. If you earned more money, I wouldn't have had to do it. Victoria snapped back. Adrian reeled at her words. Excuse me? I stared at Victoria in complete disbelief. So your plan was to take over our house and use the money you'd save on rent to pay off your debts. And what's wrong with that? We didn't have any other choice, Victoria shouted. I was appalled. Instead of being upfront about their struggles, she had tried to manipulate her way into our home. The audacity was beyond anything I had ever seen. There's nothing more to discuss. Get out, I said firmly. Wait, please, Victoria pleaded, her voice shaking. We're really in trouble. Just help us this once. I scoffed. Help you? I took on my parents' debt and worked to pay it off. You, on the other hand, expect a free ride while refusing to work full-time just because it's convenient for you. Victoria flinched. And Adrian, I continued, turning to my brother. Start standing up for yourself. This is why she walks all over you. Adrian lowered his head, ashamed. At the end of the day, your debt is your responsibility. You two figure it out, somewhere that isn't here. Now leave. Victoria, her parents, and Adrian had no choice but to retreat. A few days later, I received a call from Victoria's parents. They apologized profusely, admitting that they had decided not to bail Victoria and Adrian out. No matter how much she begged, they were done helping her. Adrian, meanwhile, had been completely blindsided by his wife's actions. He wasn't divorcing her, but I hoped this situation would serve as a wake-up call, that he would start taking charge of his life. I had no doubt that one day they would come asking for help again, but when that day came, we would be ready. And the answer would be the same, no. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, stay stunned.